still warm. AJ, I got a question about humidifiers.
What's up, Michael?
Humidifiers. Why do we need them and why are they important?
Oh, that's a huge question. All right, well, let's get into it. So the first thing to know about humidity is that it is unavoidable and your instrument is going to be exposed to the conditions in its environment all the time. As humidity increases in your environment, the wood on your instrument is going to swell. Now for pegs, this causes the peg to get bigger, but as the peg box wood takes on moisture, those holes in the peg box actually get smaller.
Oh, wow. So
as you go from a dry season into a wet season, you can find your pegs binding in place and not being able to turn or move. Also, the sound quality of your instrument can change quite a bit too, as your sound post can become tighter as the humidity goes up. Where most of us string players run into issues though is when we do the opposite, when we go from a humid climate to a dry climate. Now typically what this is going to do, this is going to cause everything in your instrument to shrink. So your pegs are going to become more loose and more prone to popping loose entirely. Your bridge could fall over if your strings all pop loose at the same time. And the really dangerous thing that can happen is if the wood of your instrument becomes too dry and shrinks too much, you can get top cracks and other sort of damage issues with your instrument.
So how do I know when I need a humidifier, and does everyone need one?
Great question. So I think the thing you can really latch onto here is that wood is very much like a sponge.
Okay.
It's going to shrink, it's going to grow with humidity, and that change in shape is what causes most of your problems. Okay. So if you're in a climate that has seasonal change, we're in Michigan here, so we have a very humid summer, a very dry winter, that's where you really want to be protecting your instrument from lack of humidity.
Okay.
Now, using a humidifier is never going to hurt. So if you're unsure about whether or not you want to do it or need to use one, you can always just use one and know that you're pretty much covered. Typically, people don't use them during really humid seasons, and they typically bring them out during the dry season to sort of mitigate that change, to try to slow down that change in their instrument through the season.
So can you tell me about some of the different types of humidifiers?
Sure. Humidifiers fall into a number of different broad categories. First, you have in your home or apartment, you might have a whole house humidifier. This is something that's attached to your furnace. While these are very good for maintaining comfortable levels of humidity for living in your home, a lot of times they're not going to provide enough humidity to protect your instrument. Okay. One of the most effective ways you can humidify your instrument is by using a room humidifier. You can get these at any like Home Depot, Lowe's, any of those hardware stores. They will usually carry these. And what you do is you set it up in the room where your instrument's going to live, and you just humidify the room and try to keep the room as consistent as possible. Now, some caveats to this. The second you open your door to that room, if you leave the door open, all that humidity is just gonna slowly by osmosis just head out of the room. So you gotta be careful about that. You gotta watch that. And then the third type would be in-case humidifiers. These are small humidification devices that humidify either the inside of your instrument or the inside of your case while you're not playing it. So you have items like the Dampit or the HumidiGuard, which will hang inside of your instrument. It's like a little sponge in there that you soak. Nice. Jack did a video where he shows how to use these. So that's on our channel if you want to see that. And then you have some other versions where you have humidifiers that hold more moisture, more water, and then they can actually just live in the case and sort of wick out the moisture over time. Cool. So these humidifiers are fantastic while your instrument's in its case, but the really important thing to know is the second you open your case, all that humidity leaves. So it's one of those things where for storage, if you know the instrument's going to be in its case for a while, they are fantastic options. But we really do recommend getting a room humidifier for your instrument just to keep it nice and consistent and protected.
Definitely.
So the most important thing to realize what you're trying to do here with humidity is you want to avoid drastic changes in humidity. Going from very dry to very wet not great. Going from very wet to very dry, really bad. So if you're in a situation where the ambient humidity where you live is around like 32%, 30%, as long as you can keep it consistent and keep it even, your instrument's going to be able to settle into a stable place. Nice. You might have a seam that pops open or something you have to get fixed, but you shouldn't run into too much issues. So is there anything else you need, Michael?
No, that should be it. Thank you. It was very helpful.
Great. I'll see you around.
See ya. Thanks so much for sticking around, folks, and thank you, AJ, for that useful information on humidifiers, especially going into these winter months. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button, and we'll see you next time on The Workshop.
See you around.
Okay. Still warm. AJ, got a question about humidifiers.
You rang?
Hey,